Hey guys, this is National Master Kevin Yang back at it with another video. This time it will be a game that I played in my Simul against XXX MLG chess. So I was white and our Simul member was black. So let's play out the game. D4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, bishop f4. So there is not much of a point to this opening, right? My goal is to play knight b5. My goal is to play e3, f3, g4, h4. It's a very weird opening. It's not something that you learn as a beginner. It's something that you get used to more and more. So our Simul member plays bishop f5, perfectly fine, attacking the center. Knight f3, e6, e3. So all standard, right? And a6, perfectly fine as well, preventing knight b5, right? So for example, if um, if let's say c5 happened, then there'd be some sort of bishop takes, rook takes, check sort of thing. So just small things that black has to watch out for. But a6, perfect move. Now play knight e5. And here comes the critical moment. Knight bd7 is met with g4. It's not an easy move to find, right? So let's look at this. Even just this harmless move hinted g4. So knowing now that I want to threaten g4, what is the move, right? So you could come up with multiple options. H6, h5, or you could play something like bishop b4, right? Because after g4, bishop g6, and h4, right? Now there's knight e4. But that's hard to see because after h5, knight takes, queen d2, it gets all messy like this. And it's very weird. f3, f6. Ugh, I don't know if a beginner would understand all this, but right, so after knight e4, it gets all tricky. So let's not get into that one just yet. So I guess another one of the moves is the very natural knight bd7, right? So after g4, the correct move here is to take the knight. And now if we look at it previously, you couldn't take here because I had my knight. But now that the knight is gone, right? Now if I take, now you can take, right? Now you can take. But I'm not going to allow that, right? So I'd take the bishop first. You go back, take, and then take. So that is probably the best continuation after this knight bd7, right? So after g4, next time just take on e5. That's the main thing. Okay, so let's go on. Our Simul member played bishop e4. Now after f3, bishop g6, h4, h5. Now I thought, you know what, let's take on g6. F takes, bishop d3. So now I'm attacking this pawn, right? I know that this pawn is weak. That's sort of been this concession made by this h5 move. So this pawn has to be weak. So I decided to attack it. And bishop e7 came. I took king f8, g5. here's the reason I played g5. I played g5 because of this battery, right? I played g5 to shut it down. So I just shut it down, knight e8, e4. Now, my purpose with e4 is to open it up, right? So I can come in this way. e4, c6, and here's where I made a mistake. I played queen d2. Now, at first I was thinking, okay, I'd get my bishop out, get the queen in, right? But I realized later that it's too slow. So our Simul member correctly plays king g8. King g8 with the idea of knight f8. Perfect move. And here I sort of panicked a little bit. I thought, that's a really good move. And if knight f8 comes, I might just have to take the knight. And that's never good for me. So I took, take, and I brought my queen here, threatening this. Knight f8, bishop f5. Sort of thinking about whether to check or not. g6, and here's where I thought, what about check? Take, queen takes, king h7, queen f7, knight g7, bishop e5. I didn't know if this was any good, right? Surely I counted the pawns, and I thought, okay, 6, and I have 7, right? And I thought, okay, up a pawn, I may be able to win this, but it might not be the most smooth. So I avoided this instead. I played bishop h3. Rook h7, perfect move. Situating the rook out, castles, and now I castled because I wanted to bring my rook here, just target this bishop, try to bring more pieces in. Rook f7, now bishop e6. I completely missed my opponent's follow-up, so after take, I somehow missed this move, right? I was thinking, why not? Take, but I forgot about this. And apparently the computer says I can go here, which is weird. g6 with the idea of queen h7. Very interesting. But I think after knight f5, queen says e6 or queen g6 or whatever. Queen g6, king h8, knight e2. I don't know. It's very messy. But okay. Let's move on, right? So in the game, knight g7, queen e3, queen f8, and I thought I had to give up this pawn. So I played bishop e5, rook f3, queen e2, and here I was expecting rook f2 actually. And here's the reason why rook f2 is what I was expecting. It's because I thought after queen e3, I was thinking black would just come down and get the queens traded. Here's why I think black should trade queens here. Reason one, this knight can hop in here pretty easily, right? The second reason being are that my pawns are on the color of black's bishop. So black can easily target these pawns, right? So I would have suggested trading. So just remember that, because here I'm about to play rook f1, right? And the most advanced thing is being able to recognize your opponent's threat and stopping it. So in this case, like I told you, rook f2, queen e3, and trading queens would have been very clean, extremely advanced technique. I would have really gotten beaten. So instead, I did get to play my rook f1, rook takes, knight f5. Now it's a balance game now. I cannot break through, have to really just maneuver it around. So I played queen h2. And here's what I thought. I thought our Simul member would play bishop d6, right? And I thought, okay, why not rook f5, right? Because after bishop e5, rook takes with check. So, and after queen takes f5, bishop takes d6, queen f1, knight d1, rook e1. Something like this. I was calculating something like this. I didn't know if it was good or not, but I thought after queen d2, right, maybe I get the bishop here. Maybe eventually I get my king freed. I don't know, but that was some sort of thing I was calculating, right? So instead, our Simul member played rook d8. Completely understand that. Bishop d6 was coming. Great idea. So I played knight e2. Bishop d6, knight f4. My idea, rerouting so that I could attack his pawns. Simple as that. Queen e7, knight takes g6, and here's where it sort of fell apart. Right, so I was able to get into my opponent's territory and take over the game. So here my rook just basically dominated, right? And I would say that this was a little bit passive because after that you're basically submitting to the rook's will, right? The white rook is going to dominate. It's not going to look great. That's how it's going to go, right? So rook e7, king d2, and you can see that white was extremely active in this endgame. And then after g7, rook f8 would have been good game. So I guess the first sort of mistake was bishop e4, right? So as I explained before, just take, and after take, retreat the knight. You'll be fine. So I guess the next mistake, I would say maybe king f7 would have made my job harder. But, after king f7, g5, and after knight e8, something like e4 would have been also pretty hard, right? So let's look in the game. So here, queen d2 was an error on my part, so that was kind of a disappointment. And here my opponent played really well, getting the rook out, knight g7, and remember what I said, rook f2. It's these small things that matter, right? So after this, I sort of maneuvered my way, and then this was a mistake, so honestly, I would say maybe even rook d8 was a small mistake, but even these small things really make a difference. So maybe after bishop b4, knight e2, queen e7. So for example, right, knight e2, let's follow what it says, queen f7, just like maintain it, right? White's not going to really break through. And after queen f2, let's say, rook f8, hold the pressure on this file. But that's kind of hard. So I wouldn't suggest, that somebody's going to remember all that.